Yay Networks.
A quick note before we dive into today's podcast. If you like what you hear, I would love for you to subscribe to Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, wherever you download your podcast. It would also be incredible if you take a minute to rate and review this podcast. Those things do matter and they really help us. I'm Molly Kimball. Welcome to Fueled, a wellness and nutrition podcast. I'm a registered dietitian and nutrition journalist with a passion to help people live their strongest, healthiest life possible. In my weekly TV segments and columns, there's a limited amount of time and space to cover everything, but there's so much more to share. This podcast is my opportunity to dive deeper into the topics you want to know about. In this week's episode of Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, we are talking about balance. And I'm not talking specifically about nutritional balance or even things like work-life balance. We're talking literal balance and our sense of equilibrium, or sometimes if you're experiencing these bouts of dizziness and you're not sure what's going on with it. This is something that I've had so many conversations with people about, and they'll just kind of like randomly share. It might be in an official kind of nutrition consultation. It might just be in passing in a conversation with someone. And when someone shares that they're having kind of these issues with dizziness, especially kind of that sensation that the room is swirling at times, I'm like, okay, we've got to talk, because I've actually been through that myself. And I learned just this wildly simple treatment that can be really effective for it. So I want to share that with y'all. And I actually have an expert joining us in just a bit who's going to walk us through what the condition is all about, what the treatment for it is. And it's related to, and I know this sounds crazy. If you haven't heard of this, you're going to be like, this sounds kind of just woo-woo out there. But I promise y'all it's a thing. And it's these ear crystals. And it's little like micro crystals deep inside of our ear canals. And when our crystals are misaligned, that can be one of the strong causes of dizziness, or that sensation that the room is swirling around us. So if you're like, okay, why are we talking about this on our nutrition podcast? Because it is something that if you've had it and you're like, or if someone you know has it, it can just leave you feeling off and like what should otherwise be normal circumstances. It can happen while you're laying down. It'll feel like the room is swirling. It can happen while you're just walking, or especially kind of messing with our spatial orientation. So if you're walking downstairs, it can give you this strange sensation that like you're off balance going down the stairs. Or when you have an experience that you're having some level of height experience, even if you are completely protected, you can have that feeling that you might just go, propelling off of the edge. It interferes with like our ability to have that perception of our spatial orientation there. So there is some theory that nutrition can have an influence on vertigo or our dizziness. And so things like our sodium intake, our caffeine, our alcohol consumption. So we'll talk a bit about these just first, but I really want to focus on that really simple treatment that we talked about when the cause or the underlying kind of root issue with dizziness, if we can identify that this is a misalignment of these ear crystals, y'all, it's the simplest thing ever to help correct it. So when people talk about vertigo, a lot of times Meniere's disease is one of the conditions that we hear about. And this is this chronic inner ear disorder. The symptoms include vertigo or dizziness, hearing loss, ringing in the ears. The condition that we're actually going to be talking about more in just a bit as we have our expert with us is called, and she'll correct me on the pronunciation as needed here, but it's benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, and it's called BPPV for short. And this is a common cause of vertigo. The kind of common factor in how it's manifested is that it's caused primarily by changes in our head position. So even if we don't even realize that we're turning a certain way or what's causing it, and then we're having that sensation, the room is spinning, we feel like we're kind of out of sorts as we're walking down the stairs, our spatial orientation, our heights, all that is kind of thrown off. Meniere's disease is just one cause or one potential underlying factor of benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. There's so many other things that could cause or exacerbate this BPPV, as we're calling it. Aging can cause it. It's our sleep habits, even things like osteoporosis or vitamin D deficiency, hyperglycemia, diabetes, migraines, even estrogen deficiency. There's a lot of things that are being explored to see, just what is the connection between that and the sensation, this condition that causes this sensation of like the room spinning or dizziness. There's been really little research on nutritional approaches for this. So the restriction of salt or caffeine or alcohol that we talked about, the theory is that vertigo can be related to a fluid imbalance in our inner ear. And when this fluid builds up, it causes excess pressure. This pressure affects the sensory systems in our inner ear that are used to maintain our balance. And when that's off, that leads to those episodes of dizziness. And so the theory is that eating less salt might help. Salt holds fluids. It makes our body hold extra fluids. And so eating less salt may result in less fluid buildup in that inner ear. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to reduce the intensity or the severity of it, but some research is pointing to that eating less salt might reduce the frequency of those episodes of dizziness. With this theory that this one cause of imbalance or dizziness is a result of that change in our inner ear fluid, it also can make sense that alcohol could be a common culprit here. So alcohol is absorbed into our fluids in our body, including inner ear fluids, and it can stay there longer than it does in our bloodstream. And so if this happens too often, these episodes of dizziness can happen. And same thing, you might feel disoriented, like the room is spinning, even if it's after the time that you've been drinking, not necessarily like while someone is inebriated, but even after, because that inner ear, the fluid in the inner ear is still out of whack, longer than when the alcohol is staying in the bloodstream. And so again, you're feeling a little disoriented and, have that difficulty with what would otherwise be normal spatial function, even again, when you're not intoxicated past that point. So that's really I'm going to leave it there for the nutritional considerations that we would have as we're talking about dizziness. I would say if you do have vertigo, dizziness, that kind of off sense of equilibrium, it doesn't hurt to take a look at diet and look at what's my sodium intake, what's my caffeine intake, and what's my alcohol intake. Because the reality is an abundance or an excess of any of those three, well, there's a whole bunch of other reasons to help that would be good, beneficial to dial back excess sodium or alcohol or caffeine. So because there isn't so much research that's really giving us hard data on that, I really want to spend more of our time talking about this really simple treatment that I talked about earlier. So I mentioned earlier that there's this, it's essentially the situation with our ear crystals, and we're literally talking about crystals inside of our ears that are misaligned that can also contribute to that sensation of dizziness or feeling like we have vertigo. And we're joined today by Abby Tribou. She is a Doctorate of Audiology at Ochsner Health. She's going to walk us through what this means. What are we talking about with this ear crystal thing? What is it actually called? Because there is a true name for it. How do you know if you have it? How to diagnose it? What to do about it? And also what causes it? So welcome, Abby.
Hi. Thanks, Molly, for having me.
So tell us about your background and also your level of expertise in this area.
So I am originally from South Louisiana. I grew up in Youngsville, Louisiana. Highlight of my childhood is probably growing up at the camp near the Vermilion Bay, where we'd go hunting and fishing and all kinds of water sports. I got my undergraduate degree from LSU in Baton Rouge in communication sciences and disorders. While I was working there, I worked in a nursing home at the therapy department, and where I worked with PT, OT, and speech. And I got to see that older population where they couldn't hear. And while they didn't get hearing aids or wouldn't wear their hearing aids.
Right. It's a thing. Like a lot of times older people, they're resistant to it. They're like, oh, my dad, if you're listening, like we know it. Like they'll say, oh, there's feedback or whatever. Like I can hear it. And while it might only seem like an inconvenience to the people around them, like it can actually hinder their ability to follow through with the treatments they need, like physical therapy and occupational therapy.
Definitely. And so I kind of got my interest there.
Yeah. So did you think at first you might want to go into PT or OT, physical therapy, occupational?
I actually originally was in speech. So the undergrad degree kind of covers both speech and audiology.
Okay.
And while I was working there was really when I decided to migrate towards the audiology side of it.
It's fascinating. There's so much. And obviously, so much of what Abby does is related to hearing and that type of a thing. But what we're going to talk about more today is the crystals, our inner ear crystals that actually can cause us to feel like we're really off balance or have that sensation like the room is spinning around us. And there's actually an official name for the condition.
Yes, it's called BPPV. BPPV. Benign paroxysmal positional vertigo.
Benign, meaning it's not harmful.
It's not harmful.
And then the second word?
Paroxysmal it's a specific movement or a specific position. So the middle two words kind of go together.
They mean location.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last word?
The last word is vertigo. So
okay.
Vertigo, specifically true vertigo, is room spinning or you're spinning, that sensation.
Right. So I had this years back, and I have talked to so many people about this. If someone tells me, is there something I'm doing or I can eat differently or changing my diet because I'm feeling like really dizzy all the time? Or if I turn over or I get up, reach down, the room feels like it's spinning, or, walking down the stairs, they feel like that sense of vertigo or the equilibrium is off. And I've had this conversation with so many people that I'm like, we've got to do a podcast on this because it's something that some people are aware of, but many people aren't. And when I say, have you had like the crystals in your ears aligned? It sounds like you're sort of like, I don't know, in Sedona, Arizona, they're all about their crystals and like woo woo and like the energy vortexes. That's not what we're talking about here.
Right.
It's literally, there are true crystals in our ears that my understanding is they become misaligned or dislodged. They're not in the right place. And that's what's causing our balance issues or that sensation of the room spinning.
Correct.
Let's take a minute to talk about BetterHelp, sponsor for this week's episode. I am a big believer in the power of therapy. I've shared on this podcast how it's benefited me personally, and I've seen just how it can be so helpful to clients. Understanding what's best for us personally, nutritionally, is only one element. There's so much more that goes into why we do what we do or what we don't do when it comes to specific behaviors that influence our whole body wellness. And working with a professional therapist can truly be a game changer in helping us to develop strategies that help us implement lasting behavior shifts to lead to better health inside and out. BetterHelp is professional therapy done securely, online, available worldwide. With therapy, it can take a few tries to find the right therapist fit for you, and BetterHelp makes it easy and free to change therapists if needed. You can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, and you can log into your account anytime and send a message to your therapist. Financial aid also is available if needed. And they have a special offer for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/fueled. That's 10% off your first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/fueled. So tell us, what is it supposed to look like and what happens when these are off? I guess kind of give us a visual of the inside of our ear and where these crystals are, because I think a lot of us listening had no idea that we have crystals happening in there that are supposed to be there.
Yeah, no, of course. So the inner ear looks essentially just like a snail, where the shell itself is the cochlea. It's the swirly part where the hearing mechanism is. And then the head of the snail is the balance portion. And at that head, you have, it looks like 3 bunny ears or 3 little loops. Those are the semicircular canals. And then the head part is where you have 2 vestibules right below them called the saccule and the utricle. So essentially, all those parts are keeping us part of our balance system. Okay,
kind of, is steady. That deep in our inner ear?
It's deep, yeah. It's deeper into your temporal bone.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the crystals, essentially the crystals are right below those little ear loops in those little vestibules. Okay, and they kind of sit on a gelatinous membrane. Kind of think of it as the sticky mat where you catch lizards or something in your house.
Right.
And they sit right on that. And they're supposed to stay right there and help us with our concept of gravity, so we know where we're at in space, essentially.
Is there a lot of crystals, or is there one in each side?
There's a lot.
Okay. They're obviously microscopic?
Correct. And that's where they got the name crystals. So they're called otoconia, but when looked at under a microscope, it looks like legitimate crystals. And so what happens is they become dislodged. They get off that gel mat and they'll start floating into your semicircular canals or those little ear loops. And essentially, it sends us for a spin.
A spin. It really does send us for a spin. The sensation that I had was, it would happen at different times. I started noticing it when I turned over in the bed, and I would go, wow, I can't remember if it was left to right or right to left, but I would turn over and I was like, wow, the room is spinning. This is strange. But you could kind of sometimes attribute it to something, whatever it could be. Or I had a hard workout, or I'm dehydrated, or you might think something. And then I started noticing when I was walking down the stairs, I would have a weird sensation that I needed to like hang on to something, and it just felt like my spatial orientation, my equilibrium, like I felt like a little old lady. And I'm 47 now. This was probably 10 years ago. So I'm in my late 30s at this point. I'm like, what is happening? So I went to, I think I must have had a conversation with someone. Somehow it came up that this might be a possibility to go have my ears checked to see about equilibrium. So I end up in our Ochsner Audiology testing lab, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was the craziest thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I wasn't here at Ochsner Health with who I know is a professional and is telling me something that's legitimate truth and doing a test on me that's like scientifically based, I would have thought that I was in some like just, quackery kind of a thing. It's a strange experience, just the testing itself.
It's very strange. It's very strange. We all go through it in grad school.
It's
so that
cool,
we experience it.
Though.
Yeah.
It's like very sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll start to say my experience and you fill in the blanks, because it's like I wish I could go through it again. I know that I don't need to at this point, but I would like to. So you walk into this room and it's a relatively small room, and you have the audiologist who's testing you, and there's a chair, and then you get these dark glasses on. And so it's like sci-fi glasses, and there's little red lights inside of them. And my understanding is that these red lights, you look at it and he asks you to look at the lights and hold your gaze so they can kind of assess where your pupils are.
Yeah. So the goggles, now I put them on you, and the goggles have cameras in them that are zoning in on the pupil. And so it has little crosshairs when I'm looking at your eyes on my computer, because I'm watching your eyes. So, yeah, essentially, it's like a lot of patients panic. They think it's virtual reality, and I'm like,
feels
no,
like
no.
that. Yes, it feels like that. And then the chair tilts back.
Correct.
And then the audiologist tilts your head left and right and kind of different ways. Mm-hmm. And that's a strange sensation. So now you're in a chair. The room seems dark because you have these goggles on.
And the lights are off.
Okay. Yeah. And they're tilting you back, and now they're moving your head all around. This is what I'm saying. I was like, I have full trust in this, but if I were at somewhere else that was not,
right,
a validated health system like ours, I would be like, what are these people doing to me? And it was really cool though. So he does these movements, and then you can tell me how, but essentially he then, after the test is done, and I'd like to hear the rest of the test because I'm sure I don't remember all of it, but he's like, yeah, you have, misaligned or dislodged ear crystals. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, we could tell by that. So tell us what you're looking for and what that process is.
So when we're laying you back, the chair doesn't tilt you completely backwards. It lays flat, and I'm going to tilt your chin up so that your head is tilted. It's essentially tilted back a little bit. And I have your head turned to the left or to the right 45 degrees. Okay. I am looking at the screen where your eyes are on my computer, and I'm looking to see if those eyes move a certain direction when I lay you back. Okay. So when it's the crystals, they essentially twist, and it's a repeated motion where they twist down towards the ground. If I have you to the left, they're going to go down towards the ground, towards your left ear.
The pupils, like
the
our
pupils.
eyes.
Your eyes are turning.
And you don't even know this is happening, but in our world, every time we're making that move,
you see it as spinning.
Right.
Right. But when I'm looking at it, it's like you took a car steering wheel and just turn it to the left and then kept doing it
Yes.
over and over. Yeah.
Which is what gives us that really strange sensation.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So how many times, like when someone has made it this far and you're doing this test, is it really common that you do find this diagnosis?
It's one of the most common types of vertigo that we do see.
Which I guess is good news because it's treatable.
It is. It's treatable. It's usually when a patient comes in and their symptoms match the crystals being dislodged. It's not that I get excited, but I know that there's an answer I can give them. You know?
I would get excited.
Yeah.
Because there's things that could be a lot more serious.
Yeah.
So this is one that it can be, the treatment for it is also equally interesting, I think. So as high tech and sci-fi as the test itself is, the treatment is really rudimentary.
Correct.
And I asked you, and I said, this is like a decade ago, and I got a handout that had diagrams, and it reminds me of like the 1970s. Abby's younger than me, but I remember like I used to go to the YMCA with my dad or whatever. And in like the 70s or 80s, they would have like workout moves on a poster on the wall and like a gym. And it would be like these diagrams of people and laying down, but like kind of sketch drawings.
Right.
It's like that.
Yeah. They're still like that.
And she's like, yes, we still use that. I was like, it's like the photocopied handout that you would get, but it's what you need because it's actually guiding you. So I was sent home with a set of instructions. It's like one single sheet handout. It's actually still in my nightstand. And I haven't had to use it since, but I just still kept it there just in case, I guess. But I was, as we were talking about it, I was like, it's not something that you'd want to have to keep looking back onto a computer to find the instructions or into like our MyChart or any of the kind of online communications portals. You actually want this in your hand because the instructions are basically lay on the bed or a surface that you can drop your head off of. And tell us this. So you're basically tilting your head off. You're on your back.
You're on your back and you're going to start in the sitting up position and then you're going to turn your head towards the side that's affected. So if you got dizzy when you had your head to the left and you laid back, that's the side you're going to start on.
And the audiologist would be able to say you have crystals misaligned in your left ear.
Correct.
And so it's this particular version of the protocol. And the protocol is called the Eppley.
The Eppley maneuver. Correct.
Eppley maneuver. And so you're laying down on the bed. You kind of let your head come off of it, drop it down a bit.
Yeah. So it has to be tilted back. So some patients, if they don't want to hang their head off the back of their bed, or they have like a bed frame that doesn't allow that, you can put a pillow on the top of your shoulders. That way your head's kind of just tilted back and helps a little bit.
And then so now you're laying down, your head's tilted back, and then you turn your head to the side of the affected ear.
Correct. So you stay in that position until the dizziness is gone, or about a minute and some change. So about a minute and a half. Yeah.
The first time I did it, Brad happened to be in the room with me, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, like an outburst came, and I was like flailing my arms around, like, because like almost like catch me, because I thought the sensation was stronger than I had ever had it. I would have it when I would turn over in bed or up or down, and I would get that, okay, the room is spinning slightly. But that first time I did that Eppley maneuver, which was to then basically what you're doing is you're repositioning these crystals. And it was so significant and so, I guess, sudden. I truly had a sensation that I was flying off of the bed. It was actually a little scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah. It's a strange thing to say is scary. Because if someone's just watching you, you're literally just laying
there. The person looking at you is like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Have you had them yourself?
I have not.
You've had a lot of people tell you.
I've worked with it a lot.
Yeah. It's crazy. And then you do the protocol how often?
So typically patients, most of the research now, you do it one time, see how you feel. If you're still having it, you can repeat that maneuver. After you've repeated it 3 times on your own, it's usually best to go see physical therapy.
If it's still continuing.
Just to make sure a professional is sitting with you and making sure your head is in that right position. And it's really all about the precision of dumping the crystals back on their little home base.
On that little gel mat.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to take a minute to share about Nutrafol, one of our sponsors for this week's episode. The nutrients and Nutrafol supplements support healthy hair growth from within by targeting the 5 root causes of thinning: stress, hormones, environment, nutrition, and metabolism. Nutrafol is a physician-formulated nutritional supplement made with potent botanicals. No matter your stage in life, Nutrafol has a solution. It is possible to grow thicker, healthier hair and support our show by going to Nutrafol.com, entering promo code FUELED to save $15 off your first month's subscription. This is their best offer anywhere. It's only available to U.S. customers for a limited time. Plus, free shipping on every order. Get $15 off at Nutrafol.com. That's spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FUELED. So that first time I did it, I had just that wild sensation. And I believe I did it a time or two more, kind of per the instructions. And I had a much less sensation. And I believe that the audiologist had said, do it a few more times until you're not having that sensation. And it didn't take long.
Right.
And you said that, a lot of times with the Eppley maneuver, it's, if you're going to use the word healed or corrected, sometimes it happens immediately in that one time or within just a few days of that protocol.
Correct.
This is what we're saying, y'all. And this is why Abby would be like, yes, I'm getting excited if I see that someone has this, because it's so simple.
It is.
And so then when you're telling someone and they're again, wow, I'm having this sense of vertigo or I'm, really dizzy. I'm like, have you had your inner ear crystals checked? Now, this is something that you say like a physician can do in office and kind of just assess without all this technology.
Correct. An ENT typically. It typically would not be your primary care physician typically, but most ENTs will reposition you in office.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that usually as effective, or if they're not able to correct it, then they would send them to you guys?
So typically what they do is they'll send them to us if they're not able to quite see it, but the patient's really symptomatic when they lay them back.
Okay.
The goggles, we're looking at it with our naked eye when we're doing it in the regular exam room.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So when I'm seeing it on the goggles, it is way more clear and you can see that movement and I can measure it with my technology.
So the ENT is literally doing this maneuver, asking the patient to keep their eyes open, and they're watching this.
We're typically holding their eyes open.
Yeah.
Because
that's uncomfortable too.
It's the natural instinct is to close your eyes and make it go away. And so typically when they do it in office, you can see it. If somebody's really having it, it is very strong and you can just see those eyes going.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at someone, and whether it's through you're seeing it with the goggles and kind of tracking it that way, or you're doing it where the ENT or is doing it manually, or you're doing it manually and you're actually right there looking at someone's eyes, the eyes are rotating that way.
Correct.
And it's like a steering wheel, you said. Is it once and they stay there? Is it like back and forth?
It's a beat. So it's kind of like they're beating that way.
Wow.
So
like pulsating.
Pulsating, correct. Yeah.
Fast or
very fast. So, that's how we're able to see it with the naked eye in clinic without the goggles. It's very prominent.
Is it like a twitch or like?
It kind of does look like a twitch. But you can see that the eyes are just turning and it's just kind of like the eyes are trying to catch up for what's happening. But it's the crystals moving that's causing everything to go out of line.
Over and over and over and over. Our eyes are like,
and over again.
And even if your eyes are closed.
Even if your eyes are closed, they're doing it.
So when you're sleeping, you feel that.
So that's why patients most commonly, their first complaint is, I rolled over in the middle of the night and I woke up spinning.
Yeah, it's crazy. I had it was so strong that like when we were building our house, there's a second floor, and obviously with like a house, there's enough of a walking space that you can be safely in the middle of the second floor, even though there were no walls at that time. And you're fine. You're safe. There's not a ledge or a wall. But even standing like in the middle of the second floor, I had to get down on my hands and knees because like I felt like I was going to go flying off the top of the roof.
Yeah. So the crystals are kind of just the start of the issue. So a lot of patients will come in and they'll say, once the crystals settle, that sensation of spinning stops.
Right.
Okay. But then you have this lingering feeling of uneasiness and something's just not right. You're just not quite with the spatial awareness of what's going on. So for example, you're on this, it feels like you're on a ledge, or if you're up high somewhere, that sensation doesn't sit well with you and it just kind of throws off your balance.
It's gotten a lot better. And I think after the times that I remember it being really strong were mostly before I had the Eppley maneuver that corrected it. But there's still been some since then, but over time, I've also tried to be aware of it and tried to like take deep breaths, because then also it becomes something that you're almost bringing on yourself.
Correct.
Because you might panic a little bit, or
yeah, a lot of patients don't realize their reaction to it can make it way more severe.
Right.
You know, and it's not easy when you start spinning to tell yourself, "Oh, this is okay."
Right.
You know,
right? Because you feel like you're in harm's way.
Yeah,
even though
like
you're not.
This is the end. Yeah.
We're talking about kind of how high tech the analysis is to see, you know, if someone has this, to test to see if they do have it, and the goggles and all this, and then how low tech the actual protocol is, just a single hand out with these, lay on the side of the bed and hang your head off and turn it certain ways. You'd said that, you know, one thing that you would love at some point is to maybe have like a YouTube video that Ochsner puts together that's instructions for someone that can kind of be a guide to like walk them through how.
Right. I think that would be the best option.
I think it could be fun to have like a portal where people could like have people video them the first time they're doing it, and they get that strong reaction we were talking about. Like that could be a whole YouTube channel in itself.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'd have people like simply laying there, but like me, like flailing about thinking they're, I mean, it would be like kind of like dark humor, but maybe a YouTube on that.
It would definitely be dark humor. But I mean, patients do panic, and I've countless times had them just, they don't know me from Adam, but they'll just grab onto me. Like,
I could see it. Yeah. If you would have been there that first time, I would have done it.
Yeah.
What causes it? So what are the reasons? Like, because I had felt like mine, it came on suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm interested to hear the different things that can like lead to this. I have a theory and I want to run it by you and see if you think that this is, if you think possibly this is it. I had been doing a trial of hot yoga, and it was like a 1 month trial of it. And I don't typically do yoga. And so this particular place, you know, the room is kept really, really warm. Mm. You're inverted and you're holding these inverted positions for an extended time. And it was positions that I don't normally do. It was very challenging and, you know, upside down and all of these. And it was the first experience I had with this when I turned over in bed and experienced the vertigo was after I did it maybe just a handful of times. And it was one night after that. And I actually didn't go back because I thought, wow, I think that is causing me to feel this weird sensation. And then it didn't go away.
Yeah.
Let's pause for a quick bit to talk about Bonafide, sponsor for this week's episode. Bonafide is for women dealing with perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms who want safe and effective non-drug solutions they can trust. Silvessa by Bonafide is the first comprehensive system designed to restore and protect hair and skin that's affected by estrogen decline from the inside and out. Silvessa delivers 3-way support for hair and skin. It includes a daily capsule, hair serum, and skin serum that work together to support healthier looking hair and skin. Give Bonafide a try today. No hormones and no prescription required. Our listeners receive a special offer up to 54% off when you subscribe to any product by going to hellobonafide.com using promo code FUELED. That's hello, BONAFIDE.com, and using promo code FUELED to claim your special offer of up to 54% off when you subscribe to multiple products, including Silvessa. For best prices and free shipping, go directly to the hellobonafide.com website. Use promo code FUELED. Check it out today.
So I'm going to say over 95% of the time, we can't pinpoint something. We can't definitely say it was the hot yoga. However, you know, when something starts after a certain event, you know, you narrow it down to what changed, what was different that caused some other event to start occurring that I've never had before. And, you know, there's no way for me to definitely say it was hot yoga or, you know, inversion, like a patient who's had a really long surgery where their head might be tilted back for a long time, or, you know, we'll have patients come in after that with their crystals have been misaligned. So there's
now
no
people
way.
are going to be worried if they're like at the dentist's office.
I'm causing a whole problem for all physicians everywhere.
But yeah, that, or you said too, like any kind of head trauma.
Yeah, definitely head trauma. So it has been associated with car accidents, head trauma. And, you know, but like I said, I'll have patients where absolutely nothing has changed and it occurs. It doesn't necessarily matter if you're 20 years old or if you're 95, you know, it'll happen.
I think even knowing that this is something that could be a possibility, because there are times that someone would have some sort of traumatic event, whether it's a car accident or another injury, and they had maybe a host of issues they were working on as a result of that. And I mean, it could be broken bones, more, whatever, any of these things. It could be concussion.
Right.
And also they may have this residual dizziness that's lingering, and maybe the other things that were more acute have resolved, and they're like, gosh, I've just been so dizzy since that event. And they may just think it's a result of that and there's nothing that can be done. And this is something that it may not be the, you know, misaligned crystals, but it's possible it is. And so it's a very simple, essentially a simple test that your ENT can do in office. And if there's question about it or it's harder for them to diagnose, then you can see an audiologist like Abby, and they can do it with the sci-fi way with the goggles. And then the treatment is just so simple.
Correct.
And there's really no risk of, is there a risk of doing the treatment if you don't have them?
So like we were saying earlier, you know, if you've done the Epley maneuver a couple times before at home and you found no relief, we refer to physical therapy, because if you're doing the Epley maneuver wrong, you could dump the crystals in a different canal,
what I would be afraid of.
and it makes it very difficult to get rid of.
So you don't want to do this on your own without a diagnosis.
Without a diagnosis or without proper training, essentially.
Right.
Simply me showing you how to do it.
Right.
You know, so we have the chair in our exam rooms and in my balance lab. Obviously, depending on a patient's physical abilities, we can't always do it in office. And so we want to make sure that they know how to do it properly. There are times where we simply start off by referring to physical therapy.
And so just to repeat it, to be sure we're really clear, this isn't something you'd want to say, oh, I have that sensation, the room spins some, or I have that kind of sense of vertigo. Let me Google the Epley maneuver and do it at home, because also it's hard to know, is it in your left ear or your right ear? Right. It's hard to know that. So you don't want to do this and just try it on your own, because as Abby said, it could make it worse and harder than ever to remedy. So you definitely want to get that diagnosis, get that guidance of what's going to be best for you. Also, we don't want to, you know, it's really important to keep in mind that vertigo or equilibrium issues can be related to so many different issues. And we're talking about nutrition on this. We're talking about movement on this. We're talking about fluid, sodium, alcohol, and then what I think is just fascinating with the ear crystals. But it's extremely important that you don't hear this podcast and think that any of these alone are going to solve it. So these are things that we would say, give these a try, rule these out. And if that dizziness continues, definitely continue to seek the reason why and make sure there's not something deeper or more serious that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, correct. So most patients start at their primary care when they're having dizziness. It may be the room spinning. It may be when I walk, I sway to the right or the left, or when I'm walking or moving, I just have poor sensation of where I am in space. Okay. And so primary care will start referring to different things, and which is the appropriate thing with dizziness is to just try to find the source. And so a lot of times they'll come to ENT. It could be the crystals. It could be another inner ear balance disorder. It could be migraines. It could be, you know, all kinds of different things. And so, you know, I always tell patients, just go see your doctor.
Right.
It doesn't hurt, and just be patient as we do everything to see what the root of this problem is.
And what you're ruling out and what to help diagnose.
Right.
So last thing, tell me a little bit more about the balance lab, because I think that's just really cool that there's an entire space dedicated simply to balance.
Yeah. So we do the full test battery. The crystals is just a small part of that test. We check to make sure the eyes and the brain are talking to one another. That's how the test starts. You're tracing a dot on the TV screen. It seems like very simple activities, but we're just checking, making sure everything's talking to one another correctly. And then we lay you back, check for positional vertigo. And then the last part, we stimulate your inner ear to make sure that both the right and the left inner ear system is responding correctly, meaning that you're balanced. That part is probably the most intimidating of the balance lab. We do put water in your ear. The temperature of the water makes you feel dizzy.
Oh, wow. Is it cold or?
The first one's pretty hot. And the second one, it's not that cold, but it's cooler than body temperature. And if your ear's working correctly, you're going to spin.
Really?
And if your ear's not working correctly, you may not feel anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a very that's another one of those. If you're like, if it's not Ochsner, I need it and just trust this organization. You're like, these people are like shooting water in my ears. But it is it's these tests to really identify in a space that you really can't see.
No, you're in the dark for this one.
Right. And you as the audiologist can't see this. So there's other ways that you're having to access it and see if things are functioning right.
Correct.
That's really, really cool stuff. If someone is interested in learning more or scheduling, what do they do?
I would start by reaching out to your primary physician. Unless you already have an ENT, you can reach out to your ENT to see about making an appointment for an evaluation to see what's going on.
And the ENT would kind of be the first step. And then if the ENT is not able to assess or diagnose, then they would refer to the audiology clinic.
Correct. That's
the balance lab.
They send them to the balance lab to further evaluation. Yeah.
All right, sweet. And I'll put the link to that in the show notes of this episode. I really appreciate it. This is a fascinating topic that I knew a little bit about, and I'm glad to know more. And so thanks for helping to share the science behind it with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So a huge thank you to Abby for spending the time talking us through this. If you've experienced this, I hope that this is helpful for you. If you've tried this before, I would love to hear about your experience with it. If you have someone now in your life who is sharing with you, they're like, oh my gosh, the room is spinning, or at night when I turn over, whenever I get up quickly, or whatever it is, you're now going to be the one like me that's like, have you had your ear crystals checked? Also, as we said, it's important to remember that if you do have those sensations of dizziness, of vertigo, it can be related to so many different issues. So it's very important that you don't hear this and think that simply, the watching our caffeine or sodium or hydration and doing the Epley protocol, the Epley maneuver is the only thing needed. So always check with your healthcare provider, understand the full picture of what's going on and the best treatment protocol for you specifically. As mentioned, I'll include the links that we talked about in the show notes of this episode, and let me know what you think. If you try this and it's helpful for you, of course, I want to hear about it. I am registered dietitian Molly Kimball, and you've been listening to Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, the podcast. If you would like more Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, please head over to mollykimball.com, and you can follow me, Molly Kimball RD, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you haven't yet, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join us next week for another dose of Fueled Wellness and Nutrition. Thanks for listening, and stay focused on living your strongest, healthiest life.